We start the recording now, and we'll begin with introductions while we're waiting for the other people, including our main speaker. So I'm David Blockstein. I am with Bard College in New York, but I actually live in Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C. I'm the co-director of Worldwide Climate and Justice Education Week. I've been with the project since the beginning, and this is now our sixth year in the project. And my background is ecology and conservation biology and the connection between environmental science and policy. So I spent most of my time working in Washington, D.C. for an NGO that we helped found called the National Council for Science and the Environment.
Mhm.
So, Asan, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Asin from Pakistan. I was on this course last year with IEI Pakistan, Marvi Memon. We implemented
Great.
this course. Now, currently, I am in the UK at the University of Exeter. I'm doing my MEd TESOL, so I'm interested in this introducing this program into English language classroom.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, good. I'm glad that you're just for in terms of time zone. I'm glad that you're in England rather than Pakistan. Otherwise, it'd be pretty
Yes.
late for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. And then William Sheridan, would you like to introduce yourself, please? All right. I think it looks like we have you twice here. So Will, would you like to introduce yourself, please? It looks like he's
Maybe having some
switching
connection issues. Yeah.
switching connections. Okay. Um, why don't you go ahead, Melanie, please, and introduce yourself?
Hey guys, good evening. This is Melanie Bolden here, coming from the great state of Maryland. I am working with the Maryland Public Health Association and hoping to do some more climate activities this year as a part of our, the Worldwide Climate Justice and Education Week as well. We participated for the first time last year and did a really great webinar event with some great speakers and hoping to continue similar efforts this year. Thanks.
Great. Yeah, and I attended that webinar last year, and it was really good, especially with the focus on justice and health. And I'm actually supposed to be meeting with one of the people from our partner, the American Public Health Association, meeting with her Thursday, I guess. So I will let her know that you are engaged again.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. And where in Maryland are you?
I'm closer to DC side and Capitol Heights, but
Yep.
I'm also bouncing between DC and Baltimore usually.
Okay, great. Yeah, I actually live in Tacoma Park, so pretty
Oh,
close.
very cool.
Yeah. All right. And Michelle, you want to formally introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Michelle Augustin. I'm the director of the teacher education program at Washington University in St. Louis. And yeah, I'm just kind of I've been trying to participate in climate type activities for the last 5 or 6 years. But I would like to learn more about how to introduce it into our teacher education courses and kind of give an emphasis to it in there. So that's why I'm here.
Great. Okay, so I just sent the reminder to Bethany, and we've got a couple people who have joined us. So, Michael, thanks for joining us again from the far west. And do you want to introduce yourself if you have a speaker? There you go.
Hi. All right. Did I catch those? Introduce myself?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Awesome. Hi. Sorry for the weird lighting. My name is Michael. I use he, him, and they, them pronouns. I am from Olympia, Washington. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, but I work at the Evergreen State College in the Climate Center, basically. So, and I'm kind of new to these meetings. Like you said, this is my second one, but I'm kind of excited to just connect with people and hear some things and share ideas. So, and I'll probably be off camera for a little bit because I'm transitioning to my car and going to a third location. So
That's okay. Most people are off camera. Okay. And Jackie, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hey, sorry, I'm on the street in New York.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'm in between meetings. Had a fabulous book talk actually on the book Holy Ground, which was really lovely. Yeah, so I'm at Columbia University and we're at the climate school and we'd love to participate in all of this. We had an event last year and it was hugely needed and successful, and I think we want to keep making this a tradition. So I'm here to learn.
Great, great. And I listened to you at the Climate Justice Summit during Climate Week NYC and appreciated your remarks there. So
Great.
great to have you.
Nice to be here.
All right. And Katie, would you like to introduce yourself? Katie, are you able to introduce yourself? All right. Well, I will proceed. So, yeah, just to give you a little bit of an overview of the project, I'm actually going to start with a short video that is something that our couple years back we had a project of social media for climate action, and our interns there did this with the internship director did this amazing 3-minute video. So I'm going to share that with you and also try to get a hold of Bethany, our speaker, while we do that. So, hey, it's David. Are you going to get with the join us? Okay, you're in the wrong one. I sent you an email and I just followed up with the right link.
Yeah. Hey
Oh,
guys, is
yeah,
anybody else
sorry.
able to hear sound?
No, I don't think that there's any audio.
yeah,
Oh,
same.
okay.
Okay.
I was
Sorry.
just typing the same thing.
Oh, okay.
About 5 minutes ago and about an hour, 7 months ago.
We'll just imagine the audio for in our minds for now.
Okay. Uh, did I send out the wrong thing? Yeah, click on that. It's the same one. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Sorry. So, yeah, apparently, there was some confusion about the links, and so there, Bethany and one other person are in a different Zoom room. So hopefully we will get everybody together momentarily. So yeah, so you can see, I mean, that with the video, I think that kind of makes the case as to why climate change education is important and why we need to engage many people in. Oh, I'm sorry, the audio didn't work on that. Okay,
Yeah, we
I'm
did.
gonna redo that. Sorry, this is what.
The video was very compelling, but we didn't get to
Okay,
hear
well,
it.
let me do it again. Sorry, that'll give Bethany time to get connected here. This is what happens when you're trying to do too many things at once.
That's better.
It can take air out of my little brother's lungs.
What if it submerges my Bangladeshi land of love, magic, stories, and songs?
I'm afraid my hands can do nothing to stop the downpour.
I'm afraid it will leave us alone in a world of concrete and plastic.
Groom Gaia into a vacant void.
It will take the green and leave us in the dark.
I'm afraid it will bring out the worst in people.
Uprooting our families and communities.
Leaving our children to an irreversible nightmare.
Taking the beauty of each season from us.
Causing untold suffering that could have been prevented.
I am afraid.
I'm afraid.
I'm afraid.
I'm afraid.
I'm afraid. What are we being taught?
What are they teaching us?
Economics, literature, math, engineering, history, music.
What meaning do they hold if our climate swallows us whole?
I can be courageous.
I can be courageous.
I can use my voice and passion, keep fighting even on the days it feels hopeless.
I can fight for my people.
I can hold on to the beauty we still have.
I can save our land against this man-made havoc.
I can be a voice for the sky, the soil, and the sea.
I can make a good future for our next generation.
I can stand up, even when it feels easier to sit down.
I can love my brothers and sisters and protect their lives, because we have the same mother, the great Mother Earth.
I can be louder than polluters that try to silence life.
I can do my part and lift others around me to do better.
I can ask my teacher to make climate.
I can ask my teacher
to make climate a class. Make climate a class.
Make climate a class.
Make climate a class.
So it's probably a lot better with the with the sound. I mean, makes the point really about this idea of making climate a class and going beyond the basics of what one's teaching. And really, this is our goal with this project is to help students and others, teachers as well, to turn from climate despair to climate repair. In our view, that the biggest threat that we have is thinking that somebody else is going to provide the leadership when it comes to climate solutions and climate justice. And so the fact that you all are here gives us some hope that you are ready to provide leadership in your institution and maybe even across institutions, because we think that you and many of your colleagues who are in different departments and fields probably are quite concerned about climate change, maybe even alarmed or even freaking out about that, and would like to find ways to be teaching about climate in the context of what you do. And at the same time, that many of the students at your institution are also at least as concerned and alarmed as you may be, and would like to find ways to, as the students in the video did, would like to find ways to have their education connecting them with what they're really concerned about and what they see as their future work. And the good thing is that we have a lot of ways that you don't have to be teaching about climate and sustainability and environment to be teaching, to be incorporating climate issues and climate justice into your teaching. That if you're teaching a language class, you could have people write something about their perspectives on climate issues or read somebody else's perspective. If you're doing a quantitative approach, a quantitative class, you could do a problem set, give them a problem set looking at, say, carbon emissions and carbon impacts in different parts of your state or different parts of the world. So there are many ways that you can engage. And our goal with Make Climate a Class is a very ambitious goal. And that is to have every teacher in every subject, in every institution, in every community, in every nation around the world, at least taking a moment, taking one class period or half a class period, at least 30 minutes to talk about the connection between climate solutions and climate justice and the topic of their class, and showing the students that regardless of your major, that you can and must be part of the solution. And one of the advantages, of course, to doing this in the classroom is you have everybody there. We also have another part of our project, which is Make Climate an Event. But with events, you get the people who maybe are a little bit more interested and not the casual or the people who don't know that they're interested yet. So by making climate a class, you can reach people who you may not be reaching otherwise. So I am delighted to turn to my good friend, former TA for me, in fact, Bethany Woodworth from University of New England, who has been working with us on this project for 4 years now. And Bethany's done some great things in terms of helping to get her colleagues to be teaching about climate issues. So go ahead, Bethany.
Thank you so much, David. And it's been wonderful to have an excuse to interact with you regularly since we first got acquainted 30 some years ago. Everything you said about making climate a class was so well said. And David asked me tonight to talk about primarily three different things. One was, of course, our plans for this year. The second is how, one of the good things that's happened at the University of New England is that there's a real institutional investment in the Solve Climate a Class, Make Climate a Class, or the Solve Climate program each year, which almost took me by surprise, but is really a wonderful outgrowth of our work over the last few years. And specifically to talk about a workshop we did 2 years ago and what influence that has had. I'm going to kind of, I think, I'll go ahead and get started talking a little, taking that first question, how did we get to the university to become so invested in the project first, and then take it from there. And to do that, I'm going to walk you through, I'm going to introduce to you our first project that we did in 2021. It was meant to be 2022. Thank you, COVID. And is it all right if I share my screen, David? Okay, let's make sure that.
Go ahead, share, please.
Okay.
And if you're using sound, remember to enable sound, which I forgot to do the first time.
Thank you. I won't be using any sound. It's fine.
Okay.
But I wanted to start with this event. And you can see here, this is Solve Climate by 2030. This was the year we were doing webinars. And the goal was to get as many middle schools and high schools and universities tuning into our state webinar. So this was called Maine Climate Solutions Webinar, and we had communications with all of the universities and high schools that we could manage in the state. And this is really the beginning of the university being willing to institutionalize it. And that is the best advice we got from you, David, and even was get your communications team involved. We got the communications team involved, and they jumped in and made us a logo, Solve Climate by 2030, and they did all the design of the posters for us and a lot of the publicity. We have Bard down here, and then these are some of our co-sponsors and speakers logos down here at the bottom. But getting communications involvement, we had the very best quality webinar you could possibly hope for. We had great publicity. And the things that made them excited to be part of it, I would say, are really 3 or 4-fold. One is that that the BARD program really reached a lot of places, a lot of universities and countries across the world. So we could say to them, we are doing this as part of this worldwide event, and that got their interest. We also brought in the best panelists we could, and I know that year people had the most amazing panelists. But ours was Hannah Pingree, who is director of the government's Office of Policy Innovation in the Future, and she is the leader of the state's climate action plan, basically. We had the Penobscot Nation ambassador, an important youth advocate, and another important person in energy in the state. But really having Hannah Pingree there, she's Shelley Pingree's daughter. So those from you not from this area, Shelley Pingree is our U.S. House of Representatives and so Hannah is her daughter. And so when we do this, then the university had to get involved in terms of making the invitations anytime we invite somebody of that stature. And so that also got the university involved. So I think just to make sure we had these high profile speakers, we included the community, so they love that because then UNE is making a big splash, and it was worldwide, so we could sell that to them as well. And finally, as I said, the communications did an amazing job, and so we also invited the provost to do the introduction. In later years, the president gave the introductions, and all this gets the university invested. Does that make sense? I think those are some of the things that got them started.
This is great. And
from the beginning.
In terms of making climate event, if you're going to make an event, that you want to make it a real event and not just something marginal.
Right. And so then this next year, we followed it up with another big profile thing. And in this case, we followed Bard's model of a one-night teaching on climate and justice. We got the Reverend Lennox Yearwood to come speak from the Hip Hop Caucus. And we got the university kind of stop everything else for the evening from 5 to 8. And you can see that what we had was the keynote from Reverend Yearwood. I don't want to go into too much detail and bore everyone, but we did manage to set it. We had 7 panels going that evening, 4 in the first hour and 3 in the second hour. And these panels spanned Our Changing World was biology, protecting public health, climate justice, taking action, navigating climate anxiety. So there we had the mental health people and the psychology people at that part. Communicating climate change brought in the people in obviously communications, but also in literature and art and solutions for the future. And although it's maybe not obvious from these titles, we had 38 different faculty speaking that evening in panels, ranging everything from, as I said, from art and literature to public health. And this was and again, doing this right on the tails of the other, again, you can see we have this logo here that they put together, and that they like it, communications. In this case, we had drapes and panels and chairs and microphones, and the communications program really did it up. And And so that's again allowed us to operate at a very high professional level, and the president introduced it, and it made a lot of, it was also community based. So the reason a lot of these are here is because we couldn't afford the Reverend on our own. And so we got grants from collaborators such as the Climate Initiative, which is Kennebunk and things like that. So that's kind of explaining how we got started. And so then from there, the momentum kind of just kept on going. And so now they almost come to us and say, so what are we doing for Solve Climate this year, right? Which is wonderful. So do you want me to talk? I guess I wanted to tell you about the workshop, which is what we did the following year. The workshop was a really different model. And again, I'll share my screen again here, although I don't have quite the pretty graphics for this. Well, let me wait before I share. To just explain that every semester before the semester begins, the College of Arts and Sciences hosts a full day of meetings. You guys probably have this if you're in academic settings where everybody gets together and does some kind of professional development. This particular year, we applied for and got permission to be the big professional development event for January of 2023. And in this case, it was a bi-college meeting, which is unusual. Usually only have the College of Arts and Sciences, but this year it was also the Westbrook College of Health Professions. We brought everyone together for a day to talk about how to teach climate change in their discipline. This is probably the thing we've done, I think, with the most impact in terms of what people teach. And really, I felt like this was when we were really speaking to the spirit of what David was talking about. In terms of, we constantly have people say, how do I teach about this in my field? How do I make time for it? Or I don't know what to talk about. And so let me share again. My screen here. Sorry, here. There we go. And can you all see the screen there with a bunch of circles?
Yes.
Yes, this is the setup of the room, although the room was actually a bit bigger and there were more tables, but I put this together so you could visualize it. You can see that each one of these tables is a particular discipline. We have, as you can see, everything from sociology to sports management and psychology and nursing in the room. We had a screen because we had an agenda and questions that we had the groups work on in order. And these posters, each of these posters around the room are ones on how to teach climate in a particular discipline, or posters of books that talk about how to teach, climate change in literature or something. And back here, the library put together a display of climate books in various disciplines so that people could go back and see what kind of textbooks might be available for them. At each one of these tables, we had two moderators who were part of our group from the, and it's, at this point, it has become adopted by the Planetary Health Council at our school. And so we had members from the Planetary Health Council at each of these tables. And at each one of those tables, they went through certain questions about thinking about how they could integrate climate change into their studies. And we also had, I'll share this with you. For example, at each table, we had prepared kind of cheat sheets. What are some of the things you might talk about? For example, this is the business table. We could talk about climate change as a negative externality. We could talk about the risks to business, cost benefit analysis. What about discounting rate? You could talk about the social cost of carbon, the fiduciary responsibilities of businesses to their shareholders versus public good. It just tried to, the pros and cons of putting a price on carbon. So this workshop was really it's really taking what you've started, David, and just trying to really drill down, apply it to our university. The idea here is that the faculty would then take it out and use it in their classes. We followed up with the April event, along with the typical, where we had faculty who had applied it in their classes and gave a webinar to talk about how it worked and what the challenges were and what the successes were. So that year, 2023, I say it was very faculty focused. We were trying to use the faculty to get through to the students and really give them the tools that they needed. I would say that there were kind of two kinds of reactions. And one was, this is great, I'm going to use this. And the other was, for example, that business page that I showed all of you. I'll never forget, talking to someone who I really, really respect in the business. And I was at, moderating their table, and they said, this is great, but what we really need is someone like you to come in and talk to our classes about climate change. And they were missing the entire point. I told them, I can't talk about discounting rate and negative externalities and all of these things. That's not my field, but you can, and you can apply it to climate change. But the total point, I was so disappointed in that. So there's some really wonderful successes and then some also frustrations. And I think that kind of illustrates the challenge that's before us in this task. I guess if you don't mind me going back and talking about the teach-in for a second, I told you how there were 37 different faculty. I'm aware of the time, so I'll try to finish up here. We had 38 or 39 faculty from all these.
Don't worry about time, Bethany. We're good.
Okay.
So.
Okay. We had all these faculty, and they were, the teach-in sounds like it's, a teach-in for the students, but what we, my colleague, I should say, I didn't do any of this alone. Alethea Caridi, particularly our director of sustainability, has been really key in the Planetary Health Council. And Alethea and I both agreed that what we were doing was we were trying something very sneaky. We were asking the professors to come and teach and talk to the students as a way to make the faculty aware of how they could integrate climate change in their classes. So it wasn't just that they were coming and talking to the students, but in preparing their remarks, we hoped that they would then say, oh, I can then. So we were trying to raise awareness for them of how easy this would be and how they could make these connections. And so we felt like we were kind of like being sneaky there. We were teaching the students, but also the faculty. And I should say, when I started and talked about the reasons this became ingrained at the University of New England, and I hope it continues, I was totally remiss in not saying that the fact that the assistant director of sustainability is Alethea Caridi, and she has been in lockstep with me the entire time. I haven't done anything alone. And in the last year or two, we brought in the Planetary Health Council, which is also now invested, and we consider this to be one of the events of the Environmental Council. So we kind of bring in these other councils so that everybody feels invested in it. So those are the most important things I think I wanted to tell you. Our plans for this year in a nutshell is that we are planning a fairly big event. It's almost so big it's getting taken out of my hands, which is okay with me because I trust the people who are taking it out of my hands. We have a brand new Masters in Climate Change Leadership beginning, and they want to have a kickoff event. We also are rolling out a module. So this is a module for a 1 to 3 day class of interdisciplinary climate change that anybody at the university could use in their classes. And it's almost prepared. Planetary Health Council and UNE North have been doing that. And it's innovations in climate change innovation, climate change education, innovation in climate change education. And they are planning they have a lot of people in communications involved, not just in communications in our office, but who are really trying to push the climate change leadership masters. And so the whole thing is kind of getting big. And really, I think that our contribution to it, other than the masters, is the module that then faculty can use in their classes. That is, and can also be adapted for online learning. So that's what we've got. Obviously, I'm a little bit vaguer about all this because we're still in the planning stages, but I would be happy to answer any questions and would love to hear. And I'm looking forward to hearing other people's ideas and activities because everything we've done that's good, we've gotten the ideas from other people.
What it's all about is being a community and learning from each other. So,
It is.
So Bethany, do you have any sense, either formally or informally, from faculty that either participated in the teach-in in 2022 or participated in the workshop in 2023? Are there some, I know not everybody, but are there some that really um, changed their teaching or sort of became much more engaged in climate as an educational concept?
Well, I know from the people we had, I think 4 people come and speak at the webinar in the April following the workshop, and that's not a lot of time between January and April to integrate something. But they had all, you know, we gave it far enough before the semester so they could put new things in their syllabi, and they were all there because they were a self-selected group of people who had made a change. We don't have, unfortunately, we don't have any formal follow-up data on that from the faculty as a whole. And so I can't tell you, of that we had, I think, 131 faculty there. I can't tell you how many of them made a change, and that's a real fault. As somebody who's done a lot of assessment over the years, I can't believe we failed in that. But life gets busy and you get on to the next thing. So I apologize that I don't have better numbers. We did get a lot of positive feedback from the teach-in and informal. We have anecdotal and informal feedback from people that it really did make a difference in terms of them seeing how they could integrate it into their classroom. But again, we don't have statistical data on that.
Yeah, that's okay. Thanks. But yeah, I mean, I think, our part of our theory of change is that by having an educator who doesn't consider themselves to be a climate educator to at least once try to, incorporate climate issues into their teaching, um, you know, take whatever your topic is going to be, whether it's um, algebra or economics or art, that by using a topic that your students are actually really concerned about, that we all know as educators that we learn better when we actually are interested in the topic, and that creates a virtuous cycle where the educators get encouragement from themselves that, oh yeah, I can teach this and this is actually interesting to me, this is interesting to my students, and that I should do more of this because it really is a great way to teach the basic material that I want to be teaching.
Yes, and a lot of the faculty are equally concerned to this. I mean, they're really, and they didn't really know how to incorporate it or what to do with it. And I hope that the idea came across to all of you that, our particular events have taken vastly different forms each year, and you can fit it to the needs of university and your capacity. But getting, if you have an office of sustainability or you have a planetary health counselor or environmental council, any kind, getting them to take ownership of it would really help in its continuing and its longevity.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and I think, just for everybody here, I mean, this is one of the things that we don't tell you what to do. You know, we invite you to use your creativity and to use your people and your resources, including your students, to figure out something that works best for you, whether it's in your classroom, whether it's an event. We have lots of models, we have lots of ideas, we have, you all lovely colleagues to share and bounce off ideas with each other. We have these webinars every week to go over things. We have lots of things on our website. In 2 weeks, we will have a webinar that two of our partners, our content partners, subject to climate, which is a little more focused for K-12, but they're things for secondary school and undergraduate early education really aren't that different. They have a database of curricular materials, lesson plans, examples, etc. And then the Climate Literacy and Energy Awareness Network, which also has a peer-reviewed, searchable database of curricular materials, especially heavy on the science, but expanding in other directions as well. So yeah, so we want to support what you do. So let's give the rest of you a chance to talk and either ask questions to Bethany or myself, or to share some of the things that you're thinking about or have been doing. Who wants to go first? Yeah, go ahead, Chi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chi Lin. I'm joining from National Sun Yat-sen University in Taiwan, and it's our fifth season to organizing and hosting this climate events. And thank you so much, Bethany, for the very inspiring talks and from the other posters and the web the setting especially. Thank you for sharing the setting, which is I think it's very student-centered and to engage students and also to involve the student from different faculties. And my question is, how long is the section for you to, to the whole events for for involve students from different faculty and for their teachers? And also, could you give me some practical tips how to how is it anything I need to be aware to when I invited the student, their teachers to joining in the students' talks? Thank you.
Sure. If you are you talking about for the workshop where we had the tables?
Yes, that's the
Yes.
yes. Thank you.
Well, I think that we could have used more time. We took as much time as they would give us, which was about 2 hours. We could have used 3 or 4 probably, but we felt really fortunate to get 2 hours in front of both colleges was more than we hoped for. How about I put my, in terms of tips and things like that, why don't I put my email in the chat and anybody who wants to email me with questions can send them and then I could give you more detailed answers to your particular questions. Does that sound like a good idea?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, very helpful.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then I will be sending a follow-up email to each of you with the recording so that and you have the link to that was in the announcement to Bethany's workshop as well. And I think we also have a video of your webinar that you did following that.
We do. We also have an entire recording of the entire teach-in of every single one of our people in their different disciplines talking. So that is all available. Yeah, that's all available online.
Yeah, well, if you send me the links, then I'll distribute them to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. So
love the picture, Chi, by the way. I love your picture.
Happy New
Bethany,
Year. Today is the Lunar New Year's Day. So
yeah, and here you are. Both of our webinars today. So thank you. Yeah, Bethany and I are both ornithologists, so we love your robin there. It's Michelle, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot and asking you as working as director of teachers education, what do you see as some of the challenges and maybe ways to get around the challenges of engaging teachers who are not used to teaching about climate issues?
I think that's why I'm here, because we have a very small program. Most of the students, the undergrad students who come to Washington University are there to become doctors and lawyers. And so a lot of the recruitment that I do for our teacher education program is through the content areas with students who are interested in biology, chemistry, mathematics, but need a career to match up to that if they don't get into med school, if they don't get into law school. And so at this point, our program is very small. And so I'm listening to some of these ideas and how we might be able to implement, some of the ideas around climate change. I really like the idea of preparing pre-service teachers to understand the importance of climate change and sharing that information with their students. And so what I'd like to do is to work with my teacher education team to look at how can we take each of the disciplines that we teach. We do curriculum and instruction courses in each of the major disciplines, and how can we get those instructors to value class time, giving up one class per semester to focus on climate change. As you mentioned, David, we do have a fairly robust sustainability department here at WashU. So I really need to reconnect with those people. In fact, I was going to run out to the car to see if I had thrown my folder in my bag, because I have a whole folder on a lot of these webinars and talks that I've attended. And I know I was working with a group of people at WashU in the sustainability department for several meetings, and then we just kind of lost touch through what went on with the pandemic and all of that stuff. So I want to resurrect my connections and my relationship with people in that department, and maybe brainstorm some ways that we can bring these ideas to our pre-service teachers.
Right, yeah, and it's Beth Martin who's the one who we had worked with initially.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Bethany.
Responding to you, Michelle, that University of New England is also a very medical heavy university. We're the medical school in Maine, and a lot of our students want to go into the medical fields. And so one of the places that we've been really trying to make the connection is, they don't need, your people who are teaching in the health fields or in biology and chemistry don't necessarily need to talk about, the science of climate change or something unrelated to their discipline, but rather how climate change, and I'm sorry, I'm probably telling you things you've already thought of, but they would give up a class period to talk about how does climate change affect the health of their clientele, of their patients, right? How, what's the impact of climate change on respiratory systems and, all of those things. So I just wanted to put in that, even though you've probably already thought of that, that would seem to be the natural kind of wedge point.
Yeah, I appreciate that suggestion. And I think, being such a small department, because we're not a college of education or a school of education, we're a department of education within arts and sciences. So, it would be helpful for me to make connections with some of the, people that have more pull with the department chairs and that type of thing. So that's my next step, I think.
Right. Melanie, do you want to say anything in terms of the connections between health and climate change? There's a lot that could be said. But,
sorry, what was the question again?
well, just in terms of with these schools that have these universities, and I know you're not at a university, but universities that have a lot of pre-med students and sciences that are preparing students for health careers. What are some maybe ways to sort of interject climate change into their education as pre-med or pre-health professionals?
Well, I know that advocacy is really important, and for Maryland Public Health Association, we have student members, and we have a few student chapters. And during our legislative session, we engage with the student members and encourage them to write and participate in oral testimony to support various legislation that we as an organization are supporting during the legislative session. Of course, prioritizing public health of the public health of Marylanders as our mission and vision as an organization. So that's been really interesting, and I think we will definitely, well, not think, we already are engaging with students now and getting them trained, kind of onboarded. We do like an introduction to advocacy webinar to get them kind of onboarded, and then let them kind of have at. We have meetings regularly that they can participate in also to kind of stay up to date on what legislation that we're reviewing, and continually stay engaged. So definitely one fun thing about myself that is new this spring, I'm teaching for the first time as an adjunct an introduction to environmental health class, and I intend to kind of leverage this connection with the Public Health Association with my classroom as well, and this university that I'm working with now as well.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, and on our website, we partner with the American Public Health Association, and on our resources page, there is a link to their toolkit on climate and health, which their target audience is really public health professionals. And so they have materials that are for public health professionals, but for students who are potentially going into the health sciences, that these are great resources for teaching them. And then I'll also mention, obviously the mental health aspects of climate change are huge, especially with young people, unfortunately for good reasons. And so we will be having a webinar on, I think February 22nd. That's the last Thursday, the last Tuesday of the month. 25th, that will be on connections between mental health and climate change. So we're working with the Climate Mental Health Association for putting that together. So are there other questions or comments that anybody wants to share at this point? I will say that, again, thank you, Bethany, and thank you all for participating. We will have these continuing through early April when we have Climate and Justice Education Week. We will be having these webinars at 9 Eastern and in the morning and 8 Eastern in the evening. And next week we will be, for the first time, well, last year, there were a lot of, we were hearing from people in terms of what they were doing, that there were a lot of people that were using games in education about climate change. And so this was in one of our webinars that somebody brought that up. And so we put out a call for games to say, send us the games that you use or that you know about. And we had about 30 different games, from card games to board games to many online and computer games and simulations. And so this year, for the first time as part of Climate Education Week, we are having Worldwide Climate and Justice Education Games Day. And that's on April 11th, which is Friday, because Friday seems like a good day to play games. So next week we will have our webinar. We'll have 4 different games that will be presented. I think we'll have 3 in the morning and 3 in the evening. So you can join us to learn about things like Energetic, which is a board game, a simulation that is played by teams of people to try to balance the carbon budget of New York City in a way that is politically viable. So it's I've never played it, but I've heard presentations and looked at their stuff, and it seems pretty cool. And then if any of you are fans of Settlers of Catan, they have a new game that came out last summer called Catan New Energy that is looking at the transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And through a partnership with them, they are providing um, games to teachers. I think the first 100 teachers in the U.S. Have who are pledged to do that game during Climate Games Day or Climate Education Week, that they will actually provide a free game, and we'll have a sign up for that. So that's next week. The week after that, we'll be presenting resources, as I mentioned, from the clean and subject to climate groups. On the 18th, last week, somebody, when we were talking about Make Climate an Event, somebody said, well, how do you get the students to come? And we all know the answer to that. It's a four-letter word beginning with F, which is food. And Mike Hoffman from Cornell University has developed a whole course about food as a way of looking at climate issues. And so he's going to be talking about that on the 18th. And then on the 25th, we'll be doing climate and mental health. And I'm not sure what's after that, but if you have things that you think we should be covering in webinars, just let me know. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, especially Bethany, for your great presentation and for your great work at your university. And if you have any questions, just email me, and we'll help you to work out what you need to get done. But thank you all for your leadership.
Thank you,
Thank
David.
you so much. It all sounds so great. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice to see everyone.
And
David,
Happy New Year.
Yes, David, do you have a minute to stay on after?
Yeah. Let me stop the recording here.
Okay.